It'd be goosebumps, like Tamara typed into the chat. And also, wonderful, wonderful meditation. Thank you for just kind of talking me into it. It's just interesting how when you meditate on your own and you're breathing and you're connecting with the universe, that's one way, but also to do it in a group like ours, where Tamara's voice is just sort of, with her sing-songy, you have a beautiful sing-songy. I could hear the teacher in you. You're just, remind me, you are to me what Miss Rachel is to little babies. If you've ever seen the videos where these little children, I'm talking like babies, 5 months old enough to smile and laugh, they hear her voice and they go, huh! That's what you are to me, Tamara. So welcome to the final Sunday in February. And if you're playing along, I finally just started writing in this. I've been saving my journal to not write in it because I thought, what if I meet someone and I want to give them this journal? Okay, well, time's up. I just had to just start writing in this because my other journals are now full. But what I started thinking about was, I don't know if you all noticed this. Every week we do something along the lines of our theme. And have you noticed how we started with living on the inner edge? That's individual, internal. Walking on the edge of life, that's individual, external. And then there's the edge of the known last week. That was external, individual. And then this week, on the edge of the possible, I'm about to talk to you about possibilities on a collective, external level. And I didn't think this up. The actual talk, the way they do it, is we start the month with, what does it feel like inside to be just you? And then what does it feel like inside to be part of a group? And then what does it look like outside to be just you? And what does it look like outside to be part of a group? And this is where we land today. And Howard Thurman, where the book of the month is called, For the Inward Journey, okay? He says, about this collective external showing up as a group, of the great number of people who feel outraged over what seems to be a terrible miscarriage of justice, how many do something concrete about it? All the energy is exhausted in such remarks. How awful! What a tragedy! Something ought to be done. What a shame! Again, our emotional reaction to situations, he continues, causes us to adopt measures that bring quick and temporary relief from the immediate pressures on us, but do not have much effect on the situations themselves. The real purpose is to relieve only ourselves, seems like, when we say, oh, what a shame, oh, right? So he goes on, somehow we must find that which is big enough to absolve us from artificial and ineffective methods for increasing welfare and well-being. This means the large view, the great faith, which will release the vast courage. You would think he wrote that yesterday after watching the news. You would think that Howard Thurman is among us and writing after watching the things we watch. How awful! What a tragedy! Something ought to be done. What a shame. And what he's saying is, and when he wrote it, it was maybe 100 years ago. I should probably have planned that one little comment. When he wrote it, there were other things going on that were, oh, what a tragedy, oh, what a shame, something ought to be done. What he's saying is, perhaps complaining about what is dissipates energy that would rather be better spent gathering and holding toward a vision of what we do want, and then getting other people together like us, like-minded, and then doing something, doing what we're led to do. That perhaps when we complain and point out that things are terrible, that is kind of a release valve on energy that maybe shouldn't be released in that manner. Maybe it dissipates and doesn't really, it's not effective because it's too scattered about and unorganized. That maybe perhaps you could get a group of people together who know something about something, and then intentionally do at a group level that which would be super effective and super The word evolution comes, higher movement, spiraling up from wherever we are as opposed to spiraling down or not changing at all. What could we do if we got together? Ernest Holmes has something to say about that. He says this: we have not yet done what I believe we should do with our membership. And he's talking to a group of people that have just decided to become a so-called religion, but it's a teaching based on Ernest Holmes' writings. All right, so he says, we have not yet done what I believe we should do with our membership. We have yet to see what the multiple consciousness of a church body can do if the members are properly trained, if they permit someone to exercise authority over them. He goes, hold up, though. Not over their theology, not over their private lives. And I'm sure he'd probably say, not over who they're sleeping with or what bathroom they use. But back to Ernest. But over one thing, only their spiritual concepts. That's it. Just their spiritual concepts. There is a law of good, he says. There is power in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. And it will multiply its effect 1,000 times through the unified consciousness of a group. Now, he said that in 1959. I do know this. He said it in 1959 when he was dedicating a church in Whittier, California, because Ernest, when he first started studying all the different religions from the Far East to the East to the Western and then philosophy, he was like, yo, there's a line, there's a golden thread through all these traditions. And we all get caught up in whether you're wearing your head covered or not, or whether you allow people to marry, or whether you let a woman speak in the... That's not the point. You guys are arguing about the 2% difference between them when 98% of it is an agreement that there is something higher, something powerful moving through each of us. We can tap into it. We can align with it. We can have anything we want. Yes, there were prophets and way showers who were given to us, but then we stop and we worship them instead of taking it in and becoming that which they stood for. And wow, this happened in all the religions. Oh my gosh, there's a virgin birth. Oh my gosh, there's a tree of life. Oh my gosh, there's the golden rule. There's so much in common that we have missed it. And so he says, so what if we took a group of people that had their minds and their whole spiritual approach toward the greater good, aligning with the highest that there is, and then if we did this together, whoo, everything would change. So that's pretty powerful, because Howard Thurman had said, if we don't get together and do it on a higher level, on a collective level, then our energy is not gathered the way it could be. And so this is the idea. We're getting together on a group level. This is us. And we're part of a larger organization that's international. They've got people talking about this topic all over the world. We've got Africa. We've got people in what used to be the Soviet Union. And at the time when we were teaching over there, we had to do it underground because you're not allowed to have religion. It was wild, but there's a movement happening. And what we've got to do is remember that if we look at the screen and if we look at the news and if we scroll on our phones and see something terrible, a couple things should happen. We should know that anything is possible if we can imagine it. And we should not let people steal our ability to be joyful and imaginative. So those are the two things. There's something higher that we can have. And the way we get what we want is through visualization and embodying the idea of that which we want. And then moving toward it individually, yes, but as a group, heck yes. We link arms and we go. But the problem is, a lot of times that doesn't get a lot of news. We don't get a lot of eyes and ears on the positive, the visualized, the envisioned future. Because admittedly, and I get it, people are hurting right now and they need a solution and they're out there and they're protesting, which is great. Protest the thing, point out what's wrong, but also take some time and envision your future. Envision what it is you do want. Because there's nothing more interesting than someone who is stopped in their tracks with the big old no more this and that. And someone says, all right, I'm a genie, I'm going to grant your wish, tell me exactly what you want. And they're like, I didn't think about it. I just know I want things to stop. So the question might be, what do you want to replace it with? What do you want to be? And if we don't spend at least as much time, I'm trying to go 80-20 if we're being honest. 80% of my time talking about what I do want, how I do want to feel, what is great about what's next, and visioning what I want. 20% of, ooh, that's pretty bad. Yeah, yikes. But, oh my gosh, right? Or, I don't want to say 100% what I do want and don't look at what you don't want, because that's how surprises happen. You need to look where you're going, right? You need to look where you've been and learn some lessons and take some notes. But don't live in the past. You want to move forward. So I'm going to give you a couple stories because I feel like I say the same thing every Sunday. So do most ministers. They're like, how do I say it differently today? But it's going to be the same message. So here's a couple things. Did you know that back in 1954, there was a big old barrier that was busted through? All right, let me set the scene. Runners, you know what I'm talking about. Anyone who does long distance running or anything further than running to catch the bus, that's me. I don't run unless I got to catch a bus or somebody's chasing me, but many people run. And prior to 1954, it was known. It was a known fact that the human body cannot run faster than 4 minutes miles. They cannot run a mile in fewer than 4 minutes, period. That the human skeleton, oh my gosh, they had diagrams, they had reasons, and it was supported by science and lots of research. You cannot run faster than a 4-minute mile until the dude ran faster than a 4-minute mile. Who was it? It was Roger Bannister. He ran a mile in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds, which means he busted through the barrier. Now that's fantastic that he did that. And what else it did, though, is it burst through the commonly held belief that nobody can do it. Now you would think that other people would then start training, and then within a year or two, other people will burst through the barrier because now they know they can work for it. Why within weeks did hundreds of people pass that barrier? What changed? What changed was their belief that they could do it. Somebody proved that the common belief wasn't true. And then everybody was like, oh, wait, what? We can? So think about that. Think about the mental barrier that we've all opted into unconsciously that says so-and-so cannot do such and such. Why? Because we haven't seen it before. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. Well, that's never happened. And so think about that next time you go ahead and unconsciously or subconsciously or consciously subscribe to, oh yeah, no, they don't let people like me in. I'm too tall, too short, too fat, too skinny, too old, too young. How about change that thought? Now, here's another one. And just in case you're wondering, what about the ability to fly? Because as I look around, things have changed drastically ever since. And you could pick any point in time where the whole paradigm shifted. Now, the ability to fly, it looks like it's impossible. Like if you're a kid and you're watching the airplane, big old heavy airplane on approach, it looks like it's just going to fall out of the sky because it's not going fast enough to stay up. It feels like that's not right. Physics would argue with you that that's perfectly fine, and this is how people transport themselves every day. So before the Wright brothers had their successful flight in 1903, it was a fantasy. It was a dream. It was things that people thought about, but it was like, you probably can't do that. They had declared it impossible. In fact, if you look at the previous designs, somebody created a mechanical bird that would flap its wings trying to mimic an actual bird. So that was hard. Like, yeah, that's tricky, right? To get the wing to do like this and lift the body. No, this is why it didn't work. And then what happened? The Wright brothers, they had a belief in something. They saw something nobody else could see, and they experimented meticulously. Change one thing, try again. That didn't work. Take some notes, change another thing, try again. Oh, well, that didn't work either. Let's take some. What kept them going? Must have been a vision. Had to be the vision. They must have seen something that we couldn't see. And this is typical. You're going to hear this as a pattern. If you can see something that other people can't see, then you're going to keep trying and you're going to burst through. You're going to take notes until something breaks through. So they continued to pursue the impossible until they triumphed. Now, this wasn't just something for engineering only. Yay, engineers. No, the whole world was like, wait, what? You can do what? A whole new dimension of travel opened up because somebody had it in them to keep trying and not give up, even though it had never been done before. Couple more, because I have to just get through all of these. What about CRISPR? You ever heard of the CRISPR? I'm going to turn on my noise suppression because I'm pretty sure you can hear the cat freaking out about Blake not being in the house anymore. Okay, there we go. Okay, CRISPR. It is an acronym, CRISPR. I'm not going to tell you what the acronym stands for. Who cares? But it's gene editing. Gene editing. So you know how the genome has been sequenced and we figure it out, and they look at every protein in the genome to figure out what it codes for. So some of the proteins in your genome will code for a particular aspect of your physiology. And now with CRISPR, they're able to target a particular protein and slice it or splice it and remove maybe an error, sometimes happens, and they fix it at the genetic level so that you're not expressing whatever disease was caused by the out of whack gene that just got fixed. That's the idea of gene editing and gene splicing. And now they're using it to help sickle cell anemia patients. We've got genetic mutations of other types that are able to be targeted by the CRISPR technique, and just breaking through the whole anything's possible, breaking through the mental barrier that things aren't possible and saying, yes, they are. Of course, it's regulated and you've got to watch how these things end up mutating. And there's a whole rule about you can't edit genes that pass through to your offspring. You can only edit genes that are going to affect you, but not your line, so that you don't end up creating a superhuman. I mean, there's some good things to try and regulate, but the idea that it can happen was, I remember reading a whole book about Jennifer Doudna, who got one of the prizes for breaking through this discovery. Meticulous scientific discovery, knowing that it must be possible. And in the future, I look forward to a couple of breakthroughs because people are driven by their vision regardless of what they're being told. Fusion energy is one of those things. And I was listening to a couple of scientists talk about how it's hard to replicate what's happening in the sun, fusion. I mean, we get fission, that's how you get things to blow up. But to take fusion, the kind of chemistry that happens in the sun that creates so much energy that you wouldn't need to ever charge your battery again, they've got it to now where it could possibly power a phone to where only one little node of fusion power could make your phone never need to have charge again. But it's just at a large scale, it's unstable. So we've got some milestones being reached right now. And I don't want to go into a super detail, but I'm kind of excited about it, where you have this feat, this engineering feat that was impossible. Now it's being aided by a lot of machine learning and a lot of technology that's just emerging. In other words, just know this. It's kind of hard not to blow everything up if you don't get it right. And the trick is everything's changing so often that the human couldn't keep up. And it's not just one formula. The formula itself, It depends on the very second, and it changes a lot. Well, now we finally have technology to keep up with the changes and to keep it stable so that the algorithm moves a little faster than the need for stability. And so the algorithm can anticipate. It can say, oh, got to balance it out. Oh, you're about to blow up. Let me change some stuff. We might be able to do this, which could answer the question for a lot of our problems with the need for energy and data centers, everything everybody complains about. Might we be on the verge of a breakthrough? Possibly. And these are just four little things that have broken through the barrier of, oh, that can't be done. No, you can't do that. And I would just say you have several in your life that you've gotten through, that you've seen something and nobody else could see it, but you saw it. You had a vision and you kept trying, and then you tried again, and then you tried another way. And maybe your family called you hard-headed, but maybe you are just right. You're in the right place. It's you. You're the one that can see two paths and put them together like nobody else, because everybody's either on one path or on another path, and you can see both. And what does it look like when you do your fusion and you fuse these two ideas together and create something new? What happens then? Well, we don't know yet because it hasn't been done yet. So what I say to you is that, yes, recognize that things are happening in the news. Terrible people are thinking up terrible things, and but don't let that stop you, and don't spend your energy. First of all, don't let that nasty yuck get inside you, because now you're walking around spreading yuck. Like, do you want to be that person? Or would you like to acknowledge that that's happening and know your boundaries? Know that that's not happening in you. Or know that if it is part of you, because we're all one, know that that is a prayer request. Know that there is unhelpfulness, there's unhelpfulness. There are people who would seek to live on some level that you don't want to live on, but don't stoop to that level. Simply say, and I know that something in them, something higher is calling on them to rise up. I know that even now in that presentation, whatever that is, which I'm not going to look at too closely because, oh my gosh, that's a hot mess. But let me just look at it long enough to say, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be whole, may your angels pull you up to the level of love that you deserve, that you may not have gotten in your childhood. May you feel love and connection, because we know that heals all things. And then get back to your vision. Get back to your group of people. Share your dreams, your stories, your tarot readings. Share your journaling. Ask questions. Take classes. Be where you want to be and live with the people who you want to become like. That's the way to go. And every now and then you gotta, I guess you gotta show up and hold other people in prayer, but don't incorporate into your being something lower or more base than what you already have come to realize is your truth. Because there's only one higher truth, and then everything else is just different degrees of not, people don't recognize who they really are. When you show up, be what Tamara said, be that blessing in their lives. Show up and know that everywhere I go, everything I touch is better, because I'm connected to that one divine source, and so are you. And if you forgot, I know it for you. I will hold the high ground. I will hold the high watch, because my vision, our vision, is for something that has never been seen before, but oh, it's so beautiful. So let's do that this week. This week, I invite you to notice times when you are limiting yourself or you're buying into some other group think, and push past that and go into the possibilities, and let me know how it goes for you. Can't wait to hear all of your success. All right, let's go into our prayer, and just knowing that there's only one power. Not only one, there is one power. It's amazing. It's everywhere present. It is whatever you want to call it. And it's permeating through each and every being, each and every body, inanimate and animate. That consciousness is all through and as its own creation, and it's co-creating with us even now. It follows our attention, and it always says yes. So therefore, I speak my word that we as a community look toward that which we do want, that which we want to experience, the highest and best in ourselves and in each other. Because when we notice that and when we focus on it, the universe says yes. And it grows that seed in that environment of yes, it just grows and that spreads. And so we are the custodians of the good. And we know that so is everybody else, even if they temporarily forgot. So I speak my word that no matter where we go, we are the overflow of love and blessings and joy. People are changed and they don't even know why. And so we are grateful. We are the community and we are blessed. So I release my word into the law, knowing that all is already unfolding. And I just let it be. And so it is. Ashe.